How's it going, everybody? My name is Sai, and today we are checking out Arcane Roots and their album Melancholia Hymns. Now, this is a rare thing for me and my channel. This is a request. This is a request from comments and Twitch. Strider 51, I want to say, is Strider with some numbers. That guy requested this kind of a while back over on my movements video, and I was thinking of looking into it, kind of curious, why not? It sounded like an interesting concept. And then what really pushed it over the edge for me was he ended up hopping over to my Twitch streams, which I do, We Bring Music in, and he played a couple Arcane Roots songs, not from this album, but he did play a couple Arcane Roots songs, and boy, they were really interesting and really great. So I am looking forward to getting into this, and without further ado, let's do that. It's kind of bright and whimsical. Okay. Very bright and whimsical. Almost like a Space Odyssey kind of vibe. Singing very high. Very dreamy and otherworldly. I like how the synths haven't really let up, they're starting to gather a bit of noise. It's getting a little wild, guys. Getting a little wild. It's the little things. We weren't having a whole lot of bass, and then that kick dropped in and it's just pushes you in. That noise is kind of gone. Fuck. Lost my question. Oh no! Not the build-up! Very off to a very moving, vibrant start here. Emotional, feels almost like climatic. We just started. Kind of interested to see where this goes. Interesting start. Gonna build into something here. Transitions. Maybe. Yes. Guy loves his falsettos, doesn't he? Okay. It's an interesting choice here. We got like kind of more trap electronic beat here. Definitely intrigued still. Kind of feels like we've been stuck in the intro for a bit, but kind of hard to understand what he's saying, but I do like the bit of urgency in his voice. That was a chaotic motherfucking, and it's not over yet. Close to an ending. It's an interesting little mix-up. Thinking a lot, for sure. We're thinking a lot about this. Not entirely sure how I feel about it yet. I'm liking it, for sure. We're definitely in the positive. It's just like, how positive? Kind of liking that build. Where are we gonna go from here, though? So far, the momentum's been very odd in this album. Liking all the like different elements here, the varieties of synths going on. That's really good. Stripped it down. Got just a gentle croon of vocals here. This is where that, like, he's starting to overuse falsetto a little bit on Matter, but I feel like this song is handling it way better, so I'm eating my words on that already. I thought it was just going to be a shitload of falsetto this whole time. Ooh. It's weird, we're only like halfway through the song. I thought it feels like we're so much deeper into it. Okay, another one of those half explosions. The strings, the symphonic elements are great. Feels like we're almost over, but we're not. We're like, unless this is gonna be one even longer intermission than the last song. This song has definitely gone places. This has been a bit of a journey. One that I've actually thoroughly enjoyed. Mix of synth and like electronic organ? Definitely inventive. That noisy synth there. Very Blade Runner feeling. Very dystopian and dark. With these very pretty keys and vocals with it. It's I like that. I really like that. Love that acoustic. Acoustic sounds awesome there. The way it's mixed, the very echoey tone and kind of nothing else. Ooh. Interesting tone for that guitar. Come on, let's actually pop off this time. There we fucking go. Yes! Yes! I had a feeling this was gonna be it, man. He was sounding very, getting a little pissed off there in those lyrics. That chorus is awesome. Now, with all these other elements introduced, with the strings and the guitars and the drums going all over the place. I love it when the drummer isn't just chilling, you know, Lars Ulrich style. I like it, some momentum here. Mix-ups. These songs look long on paper, but they're really not. They just have kind of longish transitions, which I appreciate. The other album I recently listened to, the Loathe album, is another album with a penchant for transitions that make up a pretty good chunk of the runtime, and I think it works well. It gives it like a cinematic quality and really sets the tempo in, and just helps this feel like one cohesive product, you know, when you put a lot of time and effort into what comes between the songs, as well as the songs themselves. So far, everything's been very cleanly pushed through. What we got next? Kind of radio filter sound. Okay. Very minimalistic, but that snare sound very prominent, because they gave it that kind of echoey, powerful sound. I will say that the falsettos are starting to get on my nerves a little. Just a tiny bit. I just feel like he's using them too frequently. He's using the head voice a lot in this. And there's moments where he uses it really well and really effectively, and there's others where I'm like, it could have been anything, really. The mix of like more rock-ish synth blending in with the kind of almost trap influence on the drums is really interesting to me, because you usually don't get that kind of blend, you know, on top of one another, you know, very hi-hat forward. I'm gonna go off again in a different way, but yes, very grandiose and huge. Okay. We heard screams earlier in the album, but I'm still taken off guard by it. Yeah, that was a good ending. That was a solid ending right there. Song kind of sputtered a little bit. It was like a transition, but that big fucking ending is really brought it all back in. And I wonder if it's setting a tone for what's to come? Maybe? It feels like we're getting bigger each time we progress through these songs. You know, we've gone from like half explosions to full-on screaming and chugging guitars. So, not chugging guitars, but, you know, power chord. Bang, you know. Word. Fuzzy, noisy, almost bluesy guitar. Almost a bit like of a Sabbathy, Ozzy kind of cadence there. I feel like we're gonna build again, man. It feels like every song has like a kind of sloping structure to it. Every single song is a builder. Could be wrong a little bit. This is still kind of writing. It's not as hard as like the rest of it is kind of moved up. There it is. So they brought in some more guitars. They brought in some heavier drums. But the structure's still kind of the same. The game's still kind of the same as the other songs of the album. And I'm liking it. I do want to see something different pop up at some point here, though. I guess I do like how they're playing with the sounds, but I would like to see them perhaps do something different structurally. Because this rising thing is really cool. I love that in progressive music and all that. I would, I'm not sure it's hitting off for an entire album.
I can feel you breathing, but I'll shut them out and show
The way they mix those background vocals is awesome. Loving it, fills both ears, really kind of surrounds you almost.
Can you see my secrets?
Add some bass.
Can you pull them tight? And show you right.
I love those very minimalistic components there with the bass. Before all this started happening, it was like something you probably wouldn't even be able to hear on every speaker. It's a really nice driving bass tone, and then now we've got, of course, the almost synthy elements here. It's definitely bringing in a new genre to the mix. I wonder if the structure is going to change up though. We'll see. I am definitely liking the genres are mixing up here though. At least I could say that is definitely interesting throughout the whole album so far. Yeah. This appears to be their shtick, which is fine. Ooh. Oh, I like that. I like that riff. His voice actually gives me some Nothing More vibes. It's a random thought. We got some Ozzy vibes, we got some Nothing More vibes. Very interesting voice. There's those climatic screams. Really loving the screams on the last few songs. And it's over. Just like that. Poof. Transition, next song. Super minimalistic, again, with the drums. These drums sound like they were recorded straight off of a drum machine with almost no mixing whatsoever, which is an interesting way of doing it. I'm just gonna go for another repeat around, okay. Maybe a little bit heavier this time, I'm sure. This one's not doing a whole lot for me. Maybe it's just because I'm kind of getting used to this sound. And I'm just kind of sitting around waiting for something really new and out there to come. And I'm starting to get a feeling I'm not too sure about that. Just me, though. Goodness. Sorry about that horrible noise. But again, it's kind of transition-y. It's like a bridge, but the bridge has no destination. It feels like we're moving towards something, but we're never getting there. I do like the individual elements on their own, though. Like this, these kind of chimes. These are fun. I like the sound. I like how it's kind of surrounding you and bouncing back and forth, a little chaotically, but also very just soothing. Okay. This is definitely more urgency. Liking those really distorted pieces. You know, this is a shorter song, so it doesn't make sense that if any urgency was gonna come, it'd be here, right? Interesting sound. Well, I feel like something's about to happen. Ooh, that's fucking noisy and messy right there. Ooh! Ooh, those guitars. Okay. Oh, that went off way harder than any other song on here. It's still... That was good timing. Total accident.
Tell yourself it ain't like dying. So bring the morning if it comes.
Thank you for mixing up your singing, by the way, dude. That was... Seriously. A little late, but... Still happening. That's powerful. The strings are working to a massive. The strings are working to maximum effect. Again with that kind of modern pop sound with the vocals. I just like hearing them mix it up though. I don't hate it. Positive imagery here. So this is kind of... This is making my review a little bit more complex. Because up until now it felt like we were going somewhere with no end. Yet this decisively ends. I'm not sure if it's ending this album very well, but it's an ending. It's very climatic finale here. I just don't think the trip to get here is very even. It's weird. We'll talk about it later, but it's just, I had to comment on that. It's like, I felt like it was going to be one way, and it's not one way, and that really mixes things up in my head. I think overall, though, I think my overall take's going to be similar, but this song does throw little mix-ups here. I like that. I even go as far as to say these last two songs. Well, alrighty then. Let's talk about that. So that was Melancholia Hymns by Arcane Roots, and that was interesting. Just right off the bat, not my favorite album in the entire planet. However, it has its upsides and it has its downsides. It's not a bad album by any means. It's actually a rather good album, with many rather good and or great songs on it. I just have there's some structure issues for me personally. Now keep in mind, I am not the end-all be-all of how you structure an album or what's acceptable in the structure of an album. This is just what works for me and what tends, in my opinion, to make an album the best people have ever heard versus just a good album, you know? This is the best example here of a band that's got all the right pieces. It's got, talent in spades. It's got a good idea of how to structure a song. It's got different techniques and great production, and they just kind of lose you at the album structure, really, the layout and the songwriting. So every song, like I said earlier, has kind of a similar flow. You're building. Now, usually a lot of bands will build throughout an album, build energy and tension. A movie will build energy and tension throughout an album. This is very cinematic in that way, where like the songs are building energy and tension. But each kind of build and explosion is encapsulated within a single song. It feels like the whole way there isn't like an ebb and flow of intensity. It just kind of feels like they decide this one's going to be a little bit more intense, then they decide this one's going to be a little bit less intense, and it doesn't feel like there's a whole lot of great flow, and as a result, once you've experienced the explosions and the tricks, they get a little bit dull the second or third time around. It doesn't really do as much for me. As well as one other quibble with the singer, I like his range. I wish he used him more, because I feel like he really stuck to that kind of croony Radiohead falsetto sound. But it was clear with certain songs on this that he could go different places. He had kind of like an Ozzy sound at some point. He did some nothing more sounding vocals here and there. He had a very like low range pop sounding thing going with some of that kind of like gravel and like almost soul to it. It really was kind of a shame that you didn't see more variety sprinkled in as far as vocals went, except for like the few times where he did mess with it, or he did like throw screams in there, for example, which every time he screamed, it was a very effective time. It felt very moving. It didn't feel extraneous. It felt really good whenever he brought those in, which is saying something, because usually when you have an album that has almost no screaming in it, a little bit of screaming can seem really fucking out of place. But here, it really did a great job. But there's an argument. There's an argument that I see a lot of people whenever I review something that isn't like totally heavy, and I'll comment on it being uninteresting. And they will always say this thing. Just because it's explosive or just because it's heavy doesn't mean it's good, or rather, not everything has to be heavy. And you're right. You're absolutely right. This is a great example of that. This is a great example of where you can have every song have this build-up, this great explosion, this heaviness in certain songs that is just fantastic and phenomenal. And yet it's just that on its own is not enough. It needs to have something more dynamic, you know, just a different feel to mix up the album a little bit, because it felt like we were playing the same trick 10 times over, except for that final song, which I'm about to comment on. That final song kind of fucked with that whole formula. That final song was more of what I wanted to hear. You know, we had an intro-ish thing that built up, but then we had another intro for the song 2, and another intro for song 3, and we had several endings, several climatic moments. So it was just like, okay, is the climax really gonna sound like it? No! The climax was great. The ending was great. It really elevated the intensity in such a way that it did justice to the rest of the album. It definitely did a great job ending that off, which just means it's kind of like the middle section and maybe even the intro that left a little bit to be desired structure-wise. You'll notice I'm nitpicking a lot on this. I'm really, it's because this is kind of like one of the only things I really have wrong with the album, so I feel like I should like explain it quite a bit, and hopefully you guys understand where I'm coming from. So let's start talking about the good shit now. Now that we got that out of the way, let's talk about the good shit. Again, performances were awesome. I liked how sparsely some of the instruments came in. It didn't seem like the instrumentalists were trying to steal any thunder in this one. They definitely stuck to where it would sound good to come in the production, which, speaking of which, the production was fucking awesome. I liked the variety of synths, from really noisy, overwhelming, to very stripped down, soothing, only occupying 1 or 2 channels. I feel like if I would have unplugged my headphones, I wouldn't have heard some of that bass, for example. Just really great variety in some of the electronic influences here, and the usage of the different instruments and where they were allowed to come up. Lots of great restraint there. The more explosive heavy bits sounded great, because I don't know if it was just because I wasn't used to hearing guitar, but it felt like whenever the guitar came in, it was punchy, heavy, meaningful, and it just had some really great, memorable riffs in there. The vocals, again, while I wish he flexed his range more, they were definitely solid. Like, the dude has a pretty damn good range. I think that makes his lack of really using it that much more disappointing, but nonetheless, that is what that is. So yeah, overall, it's a pretty positive album. I kind of really enjoyed it, but I find myself struggling to favorite a lot of these songs, because I feel like a lot of these songs were kind of great in the album, but like I'm not sure I'd listen to them on my own time, especially some of the ones that didn't go as far, like Fireflies or Curtains had a really kind of nice ending, but I felt like it didn't do much with the rest of the song. I felt like it was just a very slow build to that ending. It wasn't even like a build, it was kind of like a very even keel, and then it popped into the ending, which is cool for like a transitionary song, but I just felt like that happened too many times on this album for it to really hit. That being said, I feel like I've over-explained this a little bit, so I'm just going to get out of everybody's hair. Hopefully I've been very clear. I did enjoy that album. Thank you for recommending it to me. That's it for my thoughts on Melancholia Hymns. Did you like it? Let me know in the comments down below. While you're down there, why don't you go buy it if you liked it. Get some merch from the band. Support music. I actually don't know if this band is still around. I feel like they might not be. Like, I might have heard that they broke up, but if they did, that's cool. As for me, if you like this, please hit subscribe. I'd say hit the notification bell, but it sounds like that is spotty and not always working. So if you really want to keep up to date on when I drop videos, you can either follow me on Twitter, or you can join my growing Discord community down below. There we talk about music, we'll make recommendations that maybe you won't see on this channel, as well as I am planning a few other things that we'll get going down there, maybe album listening parties, just like group activities, something, fun for everybody to do. I also stream on Twitch. We have music listening days on Friday. That is the only stream of the week that I usually do, because I like to focus on the video side. However, as I start branching out into other things, that might change. Either way, hopefully we'll see you there at one of these venues that I've just listed down below. And if I don't, well, either way, I'm just glad you watched all the way through. You guys have a great day, and see you next time. Peace.